Others can meet you only as deeply as they have met themselves. That's something that I feel like I've heard a couple times floating around in my journey. But it's something that has become more and more and more and more and more and more relevant because I think we are living in the society right now where people, I don't know, people have these expectations that people can, just because there's a lot of awareness, right? There's like I don't know, self-healing is a huge thing, right? The body keeps a score is on and popping. People not talking about trauma, people talking about triggers, people talking about mental health and its importance. More and more people becoming therapists, at least in particular circles, right? Because in other circles it doesn't look like this. But generally the trend seems to be tending toward a more holistic looking at health, as like mental health is part of our health. And so we think because all of this is floating around and this awareness is built on a general level that everybody can fall in line. And just because you read an Instagram post or just because you saw a really inspiring video, it doesn't mean that you've now know how to meet people deeply. It doesn't mean that now you can listen to people without being triggered. It doesn't mean now you suddenly know how to self-regulate. Even if you're watching something about self-regulation, you still have to practice you have to apply what you're learning so that you can, you know, do something different. And specifically with the meeting people where they're at, or people can meet you as deeply as they've met themselves. This is my thing. This is why it's coming up for me. I had a pretty emotional conversation with my mom recently. And she was asking something about my trajectory in life and like around working. And I was saying for a long time it was really hard for me to figure out what it was exactly that I wanted to do because I was so disheartened by, I mean, my emotional, I was just really depressed. I was like, I mean, to be honest, for so long I didn't even really want to be here. So then to try to figure out what I'm gonna do on top of that felt really redundant. It felt really painful, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I felt weird on top of that. Like everybody's supposed to just have this inclination to know what they want to do, and or to just, I don't know, like feel called to a thing and then just pursue it. Um, and then she said like, I don't actually even quite understand, like, I don't know, it doesn't feel, she was trying to say lightly, right? I don't quite understand what would ever have influenced you in your life to feel suicidal, to feel depressed enough to be suicidal. Like, she's like, I don't really want to compare, but like my life was pretty hard. And I was like, see, and I don't even, I was like, I can't even have this conversation with you right now because in your life, in your experience, you've had to justify how you feel and even put your feelings aside, like the immense trauma that you've gone through, you've had to put that aside to achieve particular other things. So you're looking at me like you haven't had nearly as much trauma as me, and you're struggling to do other things. Like, why can't you just put it aside and move on? And I'm like, and I don't know, instead of getting angry like I used to do in the past, it was more so like, you're actually revealing to me how you move through that kind of thing, right? And then how you would then expect me to move through it. And this is a moment where I'm telling you, I'm not you. I'm not moving through it that way. And actually, I require a different sort of care in this moment. I don't need you to tell me, oh, I don't understand what could possibly have made your life so. And she did say, she's like, I don't want to invalidate your pain and say that you didn't feel anything. I'm just not clear on the details of that. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. You don't need to necessarily know the details of my suffering to accept that I have an experience of suffering. But again, this is coming from a person who has had to over explain and justify and re explain and establish one more time why she's feeling how she's feeling. And even then, it might not be considered valid. And so, I don't know, it's been a lot of grace, I suppose, to be like, wow, people really cannot, if you've not been held in love, if you've not been held accountable without someone beating you or screaming at you, if you've not been held in honesty, if you've not been someone tell you what is really real, like how they actually feel about you, or if you've never been in a conflict that ended with like, okay, we still love each other and let's move on to the next day, and it's always ended in like strife, then it's hard to even imagine the potential of, I don't know, it being different, right? Like, I don't know, you really can meet people as deeply as you have met yourself. if I'm asking a lot of questions about you and you haven't asked those questions, or you actually don't feel like you're a person worth getting to know, well, then my questioning is very offensive. My questioning is like, why are you asking all these goddamn questions? I'm not even worthy of whatever, you know? So it's very, 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 very interesting. This I've been seeing this in real time, and I've realized, and I think I'm feeling it so deeply because I have taken the time out to meet myself very deeply over the past 7 years, like to get to know who is inside here, get to know my inner child, get to know my higher self, get to know the different aspects of myself, the shadow parts that I've put away, the shadow parts that I pretend like aren't there, you know, like because I've spent the time getting to know myself, I can meet other people when they show me new parts of them too. I can hold space for their contradiction. I can hold space for their inconsistencies. I can hold space for, okay, I understand. It doesn't mean I accept everything, right? And like, oh, okay, so I'm going to get treated however, but I can understand other people because I understand myself, or I take the time out to understand myself pretty well. So I've just been thinking about that. Um, I don't know. It helps to not be so angry or to feel like it's entire. What I love about it most is that it's removed this like I'm not lovable and people don't and I'm too much. It's really like taken that off for me and been like people can meet you with what they have met, with their experience, with what they know, with as much as they care to know themselves, as much as they care to know other people, as much as people have cared to know them. You know, it's so much less personal and it's more, I don't know. We can be frustrated with it because I'm around a lot of people who tend to try to make me feel better or to justify so that I know the full picture so I don't feel as poorly or as strongly or as badly as I do. And understanding like it's not to erase my emotions, but this is what they have been dealt. This is what they've been dealt with, right? When or how their feelings have been dealt with when they shared something that was uncomfortable or unpleasant. People try to pacify, assuage, appease them, and yeah, it's just I don't know. I enjoy it to remove the personal aspect of it. It allows me to like have my feelings, recognize that other people are having their own experience as well, and then we can like find ways to talk to each other without only filtering what's in our experience, you know? So that was just a thought wanted to share. Hope it was useful.